Hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Pasternak, founder and chair of Diabetes Hope Foundation, and welcome to tonight's webinar, Winter Travel Inspiration. But before we begin, we would like to thank our wonderful sponsors this evening, Abbott, Lilly, Medtronic, Novo Nordisk, and Ypsomed for sponsoring tonight's webinar. I'm so thrilled to be welcoming back our co-host this evening with our brilliant and beautiful Anna. So Anna, let's hear a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much, Barbara. I'm thrilled to be here with you and everybody who's joining us here this evening. I have been working with the Diabetes Hope Foundation since 2009 when I received my scholarship, and I'll use the term working lightly as it's been an absolute joy for me. I'm currently part of the board of directors, among several other things as well, and I'm really excited to be here tonight to chat about something enjoyable and fun, and you can kind of see these pictures starting to play. I think we're going to have a really nice evening.
Thank you, Anna. So over the last few webinars, we've been discussing some serious matters. So we decided that tonight we're going to go light and fun, and we're going to be giving you tons of resources to really enjoy our COVID situation with the beautiful Mother Nature that is surrounding you wherever you may be, whether you're in the east, west, north, or south coast of Canada or parts of the United States. We haven't really touched on that part, but we will be taking you across Canada with many of our beautiful stories from our wonderful panelists. And there you go. So it's wonderful to be enjoying these wonderful activities, but living with diabetes really can be hard. And with the virus adding new challenges and worries and uncertainties, and due to the pandemic now, living in the world right now, you have to really think twice or even 3 times before touching a door or seeing a friend or shaking hands, which is not even politically correct anymore, and stepping out from our homes. And as we know, how dangerous the virus is that spreads in social gatherings with human contact, and limiting our movement and where we are in contact has never been more important.
Yeah, completely. And again, you know, getting together with friends and families, especially around the holidays, which we're moving into now, sharing meals, exchanging gifts. It's a very different time, and it's also very tempting to celebrate as you normally would, as this is a joyous and celebratory season. Again, with cases on the rise, it is critical that we're all doing our part in our own way. And again, keeping ourselves, our loved ones safe. But that said, travel is inevitable. We might have to travel for work or socially distanced get together over the holidays. Again, whether it's by plane, car, train, even walking down the street, we do need to plan and plan accordingly.
So tonight we'll be discussing how our panelists plan on dealing with the upcoming winter season during these challenging times while managing their diabetes. All of our panelists today have received a DHF scholarship previously. Our alumni tonight come from different backgrounds. They'll be able to share their different opinions on the matter. Since we're all experiencing the same journey, we're all here to help each other. And remember that this is not school. Our goal is to make this a fun conversation. And our alumni here to share their experiences. So let's get going and let's meet our lovely panelists. Okay, let's start with Isa.
Hi, I'm Isa. I received my Diabetes Hope Foundation scholarship back in 2014, and I'm currently here in Vancouver on Coast Salish territory. Yeah, and I'm really excited to be hanging out and spending some online Zoom time with you all. Yeah.
Thank you. Alex.
Hi guys, I'm Alex. I was a 2012 DHF recipient, and I guess right now I'm enjoying life up in around the Owen Sound area and getting to enjoy the outdoors up here a little bit. So I'm excited to talk about it all tonight.
Wonderful. Scotia.
Hey everybody, my name is Scotia. I'm a 2015 scholarship recipient. I currently find myself in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. It's been phenomenal being out here. I'm here for school at the moment. Just feel so lucky to be here and excited to be on this panel.
Great. And I know Anna is a co-host, but she has tremendous travel experience to share with us this evening as well. So you have a few words before we begin, Anna?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the topic of travel seems a little bit taboo, but I think that, again, with all of us, even just in our imaginations, thinking of places we may want to go, places we have been. And I think the big focus for tonight is looking at, travel doesn't have to be far away. It doesn't have to involve a plane, and it doesn't even have to involve a train or a car. There's many different things that we can do and places we can go. So I think it's going to be fun to look at some of those options, to dream about where we have been and where we might want to go, and also look at the reality of some really enjoyable things that are a little bit easier for us to accomplish during what we're going through right now in the current climate. So I'm excited to share some of my experiences as well, for sure.
That's terrific. So there's a lot to cover, and I'm really excited to roll out our first question. I think before we get going, maybe we should ask all of you if where you are, I know you said where you actually are, but if any of you are planning to go home, wherever that would be, to visit your family and to spend the holidays with your family. Alex.
Yeah, sure. So I guess right now, I said I was in the Owen Sound area, and that's actually with my girlfriend's family. So I'm staying with them right now. So for Christmas, I'm doing a garage Christmas with my family. So my parents have kind of cleared out the garage, have set up some heaters, and we're gonna all meet and socially distance outside and just like show up with like full snow gear and just accept that, but enjoy each other's company from a distance kind of thing. So we can still get that kind of Christmas spirit, but it's a little different this year, obviously. So, and then spending the rest of the time with my girlfriend's family.
So just a quick question, as far as the food, is there going to be a turkey carved in your garage?
No, so it's more the, I guess just the company and a couple like small gifts, and then and some cookies is what I would say.
Has to be cookies for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. That sounds like fun. Scotia?
It's so creative. It's so fun. I mean, we're doing so many things right now that are different and really thinking outside the box. I love them.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun. I love that idea. So my partner and I are here in Nanaimo. I'm from Ontario. We both are. So we are staying here for the holidays. However, we have planned like a big Zoom kind of meeting with my family on Boxing Day, and I assume we're going to have another lovely Zoom meeting with his family as well. I'm really excited because last year
I think we're frozen, yeah?
Yeah, maybe
Sorry, we got frozen, Scotia.
Am I good?
Now you're good. Just recap the last few sentences, please.
Sorry, everybody.
That's okay.
Yeah, so we both kind of share family traditions with food. My family loves to have fondue on Christmas Eve, and his family has a German background, so we have a lot of delicious German dishes like herring salad, which sounds interesting, but is actually quite delicious. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's wonderful. Back to the family traditions. That's great. Isa.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto, and I will be flying back, which is a risky move, but my parents will be quarantining for the 14 days before I arrive, and we'll just be inside. Yeah, I think it'll be nice because the last time I saw them was when I moved out here, which was last year. So I think they're really looking forward to seeing me.
Great.
Yeah, so I feel very spoiled. We're gonna actually have a family Christmas, but of course a lot of the other traditions like going out for a midnight mass and that sort of thing won't be happening. Mm-hmm.
Are you worried about the travel, the plane travel?
I'm mostly worried that I'm gonna forget a mask. I have I feel like I have, like mask nightmares where you're in a place but you've forgotten your mask, and it's like the strangest 2020 equivalent of like getting to a math test without your underwear. Yeah, so I feel like that's my biggest worry, that I'm gonna forget some crucial thing, and I'm gonna spend an hour on transit and then I'll have to go all the way back. But yeah, generally travel's been okay. I think it'll be fine, and I'm getting picked up at the airport, so I don't have to navigate public transit when I'm in Toronto, which is good.
That's great. Anna, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, Isa, speaking of the masks, it reminds me. So I live in Hamilton, and I'm staying in Hamilton just with my immediate family. So my mom lives on her own, as does my sister. So for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be laying completely low, all three of us, and only seeing each other. But my partner is actually Irish, so he's traveling back to Ireland for the holidays. Big decision, again, for anybody, whether what's worth it, what risks are out there. But again, he hasn't seen his family in close to a year as well, so he'll be heading back, and his whole family is going to be quarantining for that 2 weeks when he gets back as well. But I know we've recently done a huge search of the house to find all the masks that are in pockets, in coats. He has his favorite ones that he wants for the plane to travel. And last night I took a step back and started laughing to myself, and just digging through sweatshirts, like overturning drawers to find masks. Like how interesting. What an interesting time. So yeah, you know what, I mean, it's going to be an interesting Christmas, different, but I think everyone's making do and looking for some good piece out of what we're doing.
Absolutely. Okay, well, that's great. Everybody, I guess everybody will be in touch with their loved ones, whether it be virtual or physical or in garages or on verandas. I've been visiting my grandchildren also in the backyard or on their front veranda through the glass. You see these little handprints on the glass. Oh, Grandma, are you there? It's very cute. But again, you do what you have to do just to be safe. And we know that the end is almost sort of here. So we feel very optimistic. This isn't going to last forever. So can you think, let's just go back to our topic. Can you think of any local areas to visit where you are or activities that you can do in the summer? And we're covering all kinds of activities, whether it be skating, hockey, hiking, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, sightseeing, or tobogganing, which gives you a lot to talk about. So Alex, how would you like to start out?
Sure, yeah. So I guess I spend a lot of my time, up in the Owen Sound area. And so there's quite a few beautiful provincial parks that have lots of hiking, like Lion's Head. So you can still hike year round. Maybe you need something a bit grippier, like crampons or snowshoes to do some of the hikes. But I did a beautiful hike through Lionhead, which had these really cool, massive potholes in the ground. And so you can jump in and out of them. So fun picture photo ops, but there's also tons of cross-country skiing all around. So Ontario is known for their cross-country skiing because it is quite a bit flatter. So it's got that advantage over the West. And so all around, like Sauble Beach actually has its own cross-country skiing stuff right beside it. So there's certain areas which you might think in the summer have really good winter activities too. And I guess the last thing would be skating. So outdoor skating, I think, is going to have a huge boon this season because indoor skating, you might have to schedule times to go, but outdoor, you got the fresh air, you pick up a hockey stick and you can kind of just skate around and enjoy it.
That sounds like
Alex, just to jump on what you were saying there, I wanted to ask you, so you're speaking of kind of your area, Owen Sound, you mentioned Lion's Head, sounds like some great things. Do you think, given the location, if we have, could you make a day trip of that, say for someone that might be coming from Toronto area, or if you wanted to head out that way, would you suggest looking at staying over the night? What are your suggestions there?
Yeah, so I guess it would be a little bit longer of a trip. It would probably be a 2.5 hour trip up this way. So it could be a very long day, or if you wanted to stay over, you could look into, there are winter camping sites. And I know that's not for everyone, but sometimes you have to get flexible at the, like in COVID. And so there's different yurts at these provincial parks, or different camping setups. And there's actually a ton of Airbnbs that are being very strict in how they're cleaning and whatnot. So those could be options. So it is probably a long day trip, but still doable.
Perfect.
Great. So who has it? Scotia, have you given us your?
No, I'll go for it. So this winter, I find myself, as I mentioned, on Vancouver Island, which is quite different to other winters I have experienced ever before in my life. So I'll start in my past, back in Ontario. I went to school at Trent University in Peterborough. I just wanted to mention, again, about outdoor skating, the Peterborough lift locks. Amazing skating opportunity. It's kind of like a little bit of a Peterborough icon. On the canal below the tallest lock, there's often like an area to skate on, and people play outdoor hockey there and stuff. And it's really awesome, really cute winter activity. And I love seeing people there. And I've been down there with my friends a few times. So that's one of my favorite Ontario specific things to do in the winter. As you saw my photos and my background, last winter I spent in Fernie, BC, where I learned how to alpine ski. It was really, really fun. And now that I'm living on an island with absolutely no snow, I'm really kind of missing the snow in the mountains, actually. So hopefully getting out to ski this year is going to be a thing. Mount Washington is pretty close to where I live. So hopefully we're going to go and do that. I know ski hills have really changed their operating procedures to make it COVID safe. I'm actually really interested to see how that's going to work this year. One other thing I'd like to mention is snowshoeing. I know at Mount Washington, they had snow like weeks ago. So people were snowshoeing up there, which is something I also really want to get into. And I think it's a pretty accessible thing for people to do, as long as you can get your hands on some snowshoes. It's pretty easy to pick up. So, and I know there's places all over Canada, from Ontario up to here till Fernie. So yeah.
Sounds great. Isa?
Yeah. Mentioning Peterborough reminded me of this road trip I took through the Kawarthas last fall, back in the pre-COVID days, which was just beautiful. I feel like I'm a big sucker for road trips. I like grew up, two big road trips a year, that kind of thing. So yeah, just driving around like along the 7 highway, like through Peterborough, there's a ton of like big like provincial parks in that area, lots of big forests, and it's not so densely populated as Toronto, so you can usually find a spot where there aren't any other cars, and you can just pull over and enjoy the wilderness. I also gotta give a shout out to some places that are public transit accessible. I mean, obviously I'm not in Toronto, so follow your COVID guidelines wherever you are. But like the Glendon campus of York University, beautiful little pocket of scenery, the Scarborough campus of University of Toronto, like lots of gorgeous places to just take a walk. I grew up near the Cedarvale Ravine. And yeah, there's tons of little pockets, little ravines, little parks in Toronto that are really accessible, and it's a big piece of land. So there are a lot of places where you can go where you don't need a car, or you don't need to take a huge hike or anything. Yeah, sometimes I miss that, because out here in Vancouver, of course, everything's big and beautiful, and it's so much less dense. Where I live is sort of, I think it's technically within the city of Vancouver, but it feels very much like a suburb. So that's really nice too, but I kind of miss the small human-sized like ravines and train tracks and those kinds of things. So yeah, a lot of good places to just take a walk around Toronto if you can, get on a bus, and if you can stay on a bus for half an hour, you can get anywhere. Yeah, and it's super, super lovely, the area around Toronto. Yeah.
And I just want to jump on that, because I guess I used to live in Toronto, and one fun thing for the winter, especially now that there's a huge dump of snow in Toronto, is tobogganing. Something I feel like we don't do as much as we get older, but it's a very, very fun thing to do. And I took a friend that had recently moved to Canada to Riverside, and there's this huge hill, and you can pick up like huge speed going down it. Like, it's the biggest hill I've ever tobogganed on, and I was almost scared. I was like scared as an adult. I was like, this is too fast. So there's definitely ways to enjoy the winter without going too far, and I think tobogganing is a really great one to just have a little bit of fun and be a little silly.
That's great. Anna, you have some very interesting places to share with us in Hamilton in the waterfalls area.
Yeah, there's a ton, and I was just going to say, Alex, what you were saying reminds me, I think, I know for myself, and I don't know if anyone else finds this, that a lot of these activities, such as, tobogganing, or even going to a local skating rink, an outdoor rink, they're things that I feel like I did a lot as a child and as a youth, and as an adult, I just haven't. And not because they're not there or they're not fun, but you just don't think about them as much, or you get busy with, with work, and even when you're in university or busy with your high school studies. And I think for myself, I know I need to set some intentions. And when I do is, and by that saying, you know what, I'm going to get, right now, it's probably likely only someone in your bubble, but, two of us together to go tobogganing, and I'm going to do it next weekend on Saturday, and it's going to be great. So just kind of making those intentions. But yeah, I'm in the Hamilton area, and there's a lot here. It is the city of waterfalls. In the winter, they do, depending on what the winter is like, they freeze. So there's Webster's Falls. It's actually been closed over the summer here in Hamilton. I'm not sure what the plans are for the winter, but there's beautiful hiking around there. And if or when they do freeze, it actually is really kind of magical, not as epic as the likes of Niagara Falls, but still very beautiful. And then there's the trails. So there's the Bruce Trail and the Rail Trail in Hamilton, very accessible by car, by bus, depending on where you live, by foot as well. Some really nice hiking trails. Along the Bruce Trail, there's a series of small waterfalls as you're hiking. So I know for myself, that's a common thing that I do is just head out for a hike. I've done that, every season. And it has actually been quite busy. I know for this area, a lot of people coming from Toronto to visit the waterfalls, to hike on these trails, specifically the Bruce Trail that starts from around Shadok. It's a big golf course, which interestingly enough reminds me that that particular golf course is doing winter golf this year, and I've never heard of that. Don't know if there's any golfers out there in the audience, but they're opening up times, and you're able to golf in the winter. I'm not sure what they're going to do with snow and that type of thing, but they're extending their season. So I thought that was pretty interesting for sure.
Where was that? I have to write that down.
Yeah, that's Shadok Golf Course. It's in Hamilton. It's about an hour drive from Toronto, depending on where you are. It's a small course. It's not big and it's not fancy, but it is it's nice, and they do tons of people there all summer. And I saw someone there, or a few people there yesterday. So people are taking it up.
That's amazing. Just to acknowledge all these wonderful resources, we do have all our resources on our website. And I invite you all at the end to check out our website, www.diabeteshopefoundation.com. And under webinars, you'll see all our resources and some wonderful suggestions, places to go and see and enjoy for the summer. So I just want to kind of go into the tips and tricks and wisdom that you have to share with our audience dealing with diabetes outdoors. Some people may feel restricted because they're all bundled up with scarves and hats and heavy jackets, and sometimes it can be very difficult and to really see what's going on with your pump or other technical things that you would have. How would you travel safely considering all your technical garb underneath your heavy garb? Anyone can just jump in.
Sure, I'll jump in first. I would say I like the winter because I have so many more pockets. So I have a lot more space to put all my snacks, my tester, everything can go in there versus the summer. Sometimes I feel I always have to have a backpack or something. So I think one thing I always do is have a bajillion snacks in every pocket, but make sure that it's not something that will freeze. Like some candy becomes impossible to eat if you like Swedish berries is my go-to, but in the winter that becomes rock hard. But with like a lot of the tech and whatnot, I'd say just like keep it in like the inner pockets because it can get too cold. Like I've had a tester on an outer pocket where I had to like warm it up with my hands and like blow on it to get it to work. So keep like the tester, your pump, whatnot on inner pockets. And yeah, so I think just think and plan a little bit before you go out, but it's very, very doable. And I think for activities outside, I often snack every like 30 to 45 minutes. Like I just have, like, I know that my sugar drops pretty quickly. So I'm just like, if I'm skating every 30 minutes, I have a snack. Skiing, it's every 45 or something. So there's just have a lot of snacks is what I'd say.
Yeah, Alex, I've had that problem with my glucometer before too. If it gets too cold, you have to like kind of warm it up in your hands sometimes. Yeah. I myself, I'm not on the pump. I use an injection pen. So when I have a bunch of layers on, it can get kind of annoying having to like delayer a little bit to inject myself. So that's definitely something I have to kind of plan for and time out. That being said, it's not that big of a deal just to like take my coat off and just be a little bit cold if I need to inject. But it's just another thing to think about for sure, as well as when I'm outdoors for a while, I do tend to I take my pen out of its case and put it in a pocket closer to my body so it doesn't get super, super cold. So that's another thing I've definitely learned about keeping my insulin safe in the winter.
So smart. Those are good tips. I feel like I'm very irresponsible. Don't follow what I do. I always forget to bring snacks with me wherever I go. So my tip for whenever I do like physical activity and stuff, I'm on an insulin pump. So I always set a temporary basal rate that's like lower. So I'll set it to like 60%. I haven't really like scientifically tested what percentage I should put it at, but usually around like 60% or 70% of my normal. So then, so that's like the regular like background insulin. And so then I just do that for however long I plan to be doing my activity. And I feel like that's better than suspending the pump because, you know, you're getting some insulin and I always forget to turn my pump back on after I've suspended it. So, you know, recipe for disaster there. So yeah, temporary basal. I also pack like a pouch that has my like glucometer and some snacks, but then like this is the problem. I always eat the snacks and then I forget to put more snacks back in, like Reactin because I've got really bad seasonal allergies, EpiPen, all that good stuff, just in one little bag. And I'm lucky because I have 2 glucometers, so I can just keep one in that sort of pouch that I just carry with me everywhere I go. So I don't need to think about like packing a backpack or like putting stuff in my pockets or something. I just have this one pouch that can fit in most pockets that I have. So yeah, those are my tips. My other tip is to bring snacks with you wherever you go.
Remember to bring snacks.
Yeah.
I just wanted to jump in because I know I said you're mentioning snack. Everyone's mentioned snacks so far, and I think this is a very key element of of anything really, especially physical activity. But I'm curious for the three of you, and again, I can contribute myself, but do you have any go-to snacks themselves? Because I know especially when we're, when we're active and we're outside, I find that my regular, like, again, I don't usually carry a juice box. In the winter, I often carry the little dextrose tab candies, but I find that I need something often with more sustenance, like a bit of carbs and some proteins in it as well, especially if I'm out for a day, hiking or skiing or that type of thing. Do you have any suggestions or things that you like in terms of those snacks? Because I'm always curious to hear.
I guess I'll say for when I go skating, often I bring like a PB&J because I don't eat jam the rest of the year, but in the winter, I'm like, it's the one thing that doesn't freeze. So I'll just make like a PB&J sandwich, and it's like got the jam to like spike me up. It's got a little sustenance. Like it's a pretty good snack for on the go. And then I'd say in my jacket, I often just have a lot of granola bars, but like the ones that are more crumbly and don't solidify.
That's key. I'm also a huge peanut butter fan. Obviously, it doesn't do anything to like really help me with my blood sugar if it is low. So I rely on like gummies and things like that. I also learned not to keep juice boxes in the car when it's really cold, because that's often what I keep in the car, and then they have frozen before. But just as far as snacks go, not necessarily low blood sugar emergency snacks. I love protein balls. So I get oats, peanut butter, chia seeds, flax seeds, some honey sometimes to sweeten it up, or some maple syrup, and roll those into little balls and like put them in a little Ziploc baggie. Oh, they're so good. I love them so much.
I used to make
and
those.
there's
They're
so many
so
variations.
good.
I know.
You
Would
make
recommend.
your own protein balls? Do you all of you make your own protein balls?
I do.
You're gonna have to share the recipe with us.
Mm-hmm.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I need some recipes. I usually try to go for granola bars, but I'm allergic to nuts, so often the selection is quite dire. But yeah, also cookies. I'm like put some cookies in a Ziploc bag. But then the problem, I'll just eat them, even if my blood sugar is not low. I'll just eat them. And the other thing too that's been tough is that because I'm not going out, because of it's a pandemic, I'm like buying like meal-sized foods. Like, I buy a big carton of juice, or like, beans or whatever. I don't know. I'm just listing random foods. Like usually I don't buy things that are packaged in like small sort of portable portion sizes. So yeah, I find that I always end up, just tossing some cookies in a Ziploc bag, or sometimes if I know I'll be out for like a long time and I might need some sugar, maybe I'll pour some juice into like a water bottle or something. But yeah,
Those are great tips.
I feel like the actually buying small-sized foods can be tough when you're not used to it.
Yeah.
Just want to ask you before we wind down, how do you cope with anxiety surrounded travel, or the uncertainty with your environment? So if you have to travel by public transit, or you're maybe walking in the street and there's a lot of people walking without masks, how do you stay calm? And basically, even if you're traveling, what are your go-to suggestions you would share with the audience? Scotia, start off.
I say just try and do as much as you can, so you know that you're keeping yourself safe, because we don't have control over other people, but we do have control over what we can do. So by controlling your actions and what you do to make yourself feel safe, I think that has a lot of value. For example, I always wear a mask whenever I go grocery shopping. Anywhere I go, there's going to be other people. Obviously, I wear a mask. I've also made a really good point of washing my hands as soon as I come home. No matter where I've been, I just always wash my hands, which is a really good practice that I think I will continue to do even after things have calmed down with COVID, just because it's smart to do just to get rid of germs from being outside. And yeah, so that's my best piece of advice, to stay calm and still feel good about your own health and safety.
Very well. Alex?
I guess I'll add to that and say that one other thing I guess I do is I kind of have like outdoor and indoor clothes, because then you kind of feel a shift in mindset from like I go out to a grocery store or whatnot, and then when I come home, I get into, I guess, comfier clothes. So then there's a bit of a shift in mindset between the two. But I'll also say with the masks, I'm actually excited because in the winter, it's actually one thing that covers your face perfectly. Because I always find that scarves like fall down a little too far. Like it's actually a perfect thing to wear in the winter. I'm honestly excited.
It's true. It's true. Even in the summertime, I find that you don't need sunscreen because you're covering your face, so you don't need the sunscreen. Sorry. Thank you. Isa.
That's so real. Yeah. I also wear like totally different, like I change my clothes when I come inside, and I wash my hands. Yeah, I think sometimes as like obviously as like diabetics, we're used to negotiating risk, and like being really conscious of activities that could put us in harm's way. And I also think a lot about like a lot of my friends are like, and I are like queer people who deal a lot with risk, and like negotiating like risks of going outside, risks of being in certain places. So in some ways, I feel somewhat more prepared than I think I might have if if I didn't like grow up as a queer person in downtown Toronto. And yeah, I think really like Scotia said, really holding on to like your own sort of agency in a situation and being like, I can control this much, I can control this part of the situation, is really good and really empowering. So yeah, definitely strongly seconding that. Also seconding washing your hands and changing your clothes. Yeah, and being prepared. Like I go for runs. I try to run every day, but sometimes not. And I often go for runs at night, which is like kind of spooky. But I'm always worried. Okay, even before the COVID pandemic, I had this worry that I was like, I'd like run and like trip or something, or like, get kidnapped or whatever, and I'd be like without insulin. So that's why I wear my insulin pump when I run, even if it's like off, because I'm like, oh, like I could survive 3 days with an insulin pump, but no insulin pump. But now I also carry a mask, so that like, something happens, at least, a paramedic comes or has to come around, or some emergency happens, at least I've got a face covering. So I feel like that's my other like disaster plan, risk management, yeah, feeling prepared for every eventuality is my tactic, which is sometimes a stressful way to live, but I feel like it calms me down, actually, being able to have control over as many parts of a situation as possible.
I think I said so many things kind of struck me as you were speaking there, and the one thing that stands out among many is that this idea, I think, as based on all of our own personal experiences, and one of those commonalities, again, just as being diabetics, that like the self-awareness, and that like kind of just the managing ourselves in this very distinct way for our whole lives, coming into a situation like this where we're having to constantly add another layer to what we're evaluating and what we're doing and that type of thing. I think I've reflected on that myself, and I've wondered and kind of assumed that as a diabetic, as one element, it almost gives us a bit of a leg up, because we're like, okay, we're doing this all the time, so now let's just add another layer. Like, why not? Here's another thing to add to this, and we can do it. You got this. And again, I just wanted to add in as well, in terms of what we're doing, and anxiety and our daily activities. I know for myself, I think I've made some decisions for a variety of different reasons, but One of them is, again, where I'm going and specifically where I'm shopping. And I have been really, really pleasantly, I don't know if I'm surprised, but I've found it a pleasant experience, all of the smaller local shops and how amazing they have been with how they're handling COVID-19 and their protocols, and how many people are allowed in the store and the conversations that you can have, because now there's only 3-4 people in a store, getting to know store owners. So I've been consciously making choices to shop where I can if I'm able, because I have the privilege of living in an area that has a ton of that. Even for groceries, there's a little kind of smaller store that is slightly more expensive, but I've made the decision to allocate my my expenses there during the pandemic. So it's interesting, these things that are presented and things that we've realized, and that's actually been a nice thing in my mind, is seeing all these amazing independent businesses and how they're handling this and how they make me feel comfortable in what I'm doing.
That's great, Anna. Thank you for sharing. We're going to be wrapping up the next 10 minutes. So we have some wonderful ideas where to go. I know that we're all going to get cabin fever before you know it. And I know that when I have to walk my dog at 9 o'clock at night, I really don't want to do it. But once I'm out there, it's fresh air and you're all bundled up, and perhaps we could just keep that in our heads that, it's fresh air and you'll bundle up and enjoy the beautiful outdoors. You'll be exhausted, and then you can just hang out and watch Netflix after, because you deserve it. Was there anything else, Anna, that you wanted to add?
I was thinking, as we're wrapping things up, we've talked a lot about our like some ideas and things that we're looking at for the winter, and just to kind of delve into maybe our imaginations a little bit more before we sign off, I'm wondering if there's a particular experience or like travel dream or travel experience that each of you would be willing to chat about, just something that you may be looking to do in the future with regards to travel, or one of your past favorite travel experiences, because inevitably there will come a time when we can do this again. We just don't know when. So in the meantime, we got to keep our imaginations going, and I think it'd be nice to touch on some of those experiences or dreams. Who wants to start with that
Sure,
one?
I'll jump in. I'll say that the mountains always call me, and so I have a lot of friends and family in Alberta, so I can definitely see going back out that way. And one thing, I guess there's two things that excite me. One is the outdoor skating rinks there. There's been beautiful pictures of like Lake Louise where it's just like fully frozen, and then mountains surrounding, and you just have this beautiful skating trail, or like the whole lake is frozen, so you just can skate all around. So I really, really want to do that. And then on the flip side is the downhill skiing over there is just absolutely amazing. Sunshine Village in Banff, I've done quite a bit of skiing there, and it's just such light, fluffy snow, so you feel like you're floating on a cloud. So when there's a fresh dump of snow, there's nothing better than just floating on a cloud there.
I have been missing that feeling a lot recently. I was thinking about it just today, actually. That's one thing that I would really like to do, just go downhill skiing again. I'm actually really missing it from living in Fernie last year. I've been learning a lot about Norway recently through my fishery and aquaculture classes too. And I've never actually considered going to Norway until actually very recently. So keeping on this kind of winter theme, at some point I would love to visit that country, because not only is it absolutely beautiful, the culture seems really interesting there too. And I've just been hearing such amazing things about it, like as it pertains to the fisheries and aquaculture industry, of course, but also just about the country itself. So that's a new place that I'm really excited about going to.
My girlfriend already has a planned route of Norway, so she's been dreaming about it, and like the fjords and everything there are beautiful, and it has the best cross-country skiing. So that's like number one when we can get back to Europe for the two of us. So
even better. Yeah, tell me your itinerary and maybe I'll
use it.
Oh my God, I love that. Now I kind of wish I'd pick Norway so I could be part of the club. Yeah, so many places. I think probably the big one for me is I'd love to go back to the Philippines. My mom's Filipino, and I've submitted a grant application for my thesis. So I'd like to write my thesis about Indigenous communities in the Northern Philippines, and you know, it's a place that I'm very tied to because of obviously my heritage, but also politically. There's a lot of political activism in the north of the Philippines. And it's just beautiful. In Lawag, which is where my mom grew up, near there's like white sand beaches, like it's like the paper white, like really lush, like green hills, and it's cool, like for the Philippines it's cool, so 28 to 30 degrees Celsius, and it's like not so humid as the rest of the Philippines, and super mountainous as well. In Mountain Province, which is like just a bit south of where my mom's from, there's like it's like almost like it can get as cold as 9 degrees Celsius up at the top of a mountain, which like you would not expect from the Philippines. And they've got like pine trees and like strawberry fields, and it's like such an interesting, like it's not a tropical forest, it's like sort of a forest you might expect to find in Canada. And it's like truly such a beautiful place, amazing people. And so, yeah, I think I've been trying to brush up on my Ilocano, which is like sort of the lingua franca of the Northern Philippines, in preparation. So hopefully, by the time summer 2022 rolls around and my thesis gets started, maybe that will be my next travel destination. Yeah.
Amazing. Barbara, what about you? What's on your mind?
Oh, me. Well, I love Canada, and I want to start discovering more in Canada, and I love the West Coast, and I was like a very avid horse rider, and I want to get back to it and find some wonderful places. I've been to Alberta, and I rode the Rockies, but yeah, I love to stay in Canada. I think we have so much beauty here. And it's also much less stress to travel, far away than to stay in Canada. So we'll see about that.
On the Canada front, I have a friend that just moved to the Yukon, and so they got snow like almost a month ago. So they've been out like hiking, cross-country skiing, and just like enjoying the winter, obviously with very little light because it gets quite dark there, but it's making me dream a bit of the Yukon. So
that is so weird. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced that, but I was on a cruise, and it was like 23 hours or 24 hours a day, which is just so weird. And but there's so much you can do in a day because the sun is always out. It is, but then conversely, it gets dark, and it gets dark for many, many, many hours. So I don't know how people manage that, how their biological body clock shifts like that. But anyway, it's been wonderful. I think it's been very informative. I know it has been very informative, and all your wonderful experiences has added so much to our audience. And if they have any questions, they can just go onto the chat. And as we said, that we have great resources on our website. And Anna, would you like to begin the wrap up?
Yeah. So again, just to kind of go on with what you're saying, Barb, to the panelists here this evening, Scotia, Alex, and Isa, thank you. And I think, now more than ever, and as we're working through this time, I think these webinars are a great representation of what happens when we come together. And we work together as a community, whatever that community is. For those of you watching tonight, we would like to extend the invitation to join our Hope Connects mentorship program, where we match you with a mentor from our Diabetes Hope Foundation family. And our mentorship program helps support you through this time, if there's any particular stressors, but ultimately just life in general, you can visit the DHF website for more details on how to join this mentorship program. Again, just with COVID-19 moving into the holidays, do remember not all of us are able to take every precaution. However, everything that we can do right now to protect ourselves and our communities is so important. And again, we really do, I think, have a phenomenal power as a community to help each other, ourselves and everyone around us.
Thank you. Again, thank you, panelists. I want to just roll this out. The last couple of weeks has been very inspirational listening to our panelists, and we found that many of our panelists have been cooking and baking. And this is something that's been really exciting because just recently we realized that there is a need for kids who are transitioning into university college and who are on restricted diets outside of diabetes, whether they're celiac or peanut allergy or whatever their restricted diet is. So we've been working together with a few of our alumni who are dietitians, and we're putting together a cookbook. But I'm going to start saying it's going to be an addendum to the transition guide because it is geared towards kids who are just transitioning out of high school, going to university, or going into the workplace, or moving away from home. And we're looking for recipes that are easy, simple, delicious, that have some restrictive dietary ingredients. So we're going to be promoting this on Facebook, and we would love to get your recipes. And if I know there's quite a lot of bloggers out there, if there's anything that you like to volunteer your recipes, we will give you all the credits possible. And we're going to put this, as I said, in a guide, and then eventually do a cookbook. And it's going to be a Diabetes Hope cookbook from the alumni. And we're very, very excited about it. So if anyone has some great recipes, baking, cooking, anything that's delicious, please don't hesitate to send it in. And the final, so I guess that's it for tonight. Again, Anna, thank you very much. It's always great to have you back. And everyone just be well, and season's greetings, and have a wonderful, safe holiday, and we'll see you back in January.
Hey,
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Guys.
Thank you.